So with so much going on in the market, both nationally and locally, we wanted to take a minute to break down the data about our current housing market here in Santa Barbara for October 2023 and how we did in comparison to 2022. So that being said, let's dive right into it with our highest and lowest price sales in the market last month. Our highest price sale was a little over $20 million.
Right. That was for 550 Freehaven Drive, which is that beautiful Italian estate. It was on 21 acres, avocado ranch, ocean views. It was beautiful.
For over $20 million. While it did take 100 days to sell, it's one of those things that kind of aligns more with the historical norms of what it takes to for properties of that size to sell that price.
Right. We got a little crazy in COVID with these things going quickly, but it's
mind-blowing.
It's more common to see them, at that 100+ days.
Yeah, definitely. So going into the lowest price sale, which is a property on 500 Street on the east side, sold off market at about $850,000.
Yeah, and that was under 1,000 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom. It looked original, similar to our Alphonse home that we sold, which we actually sold it for a little over $1 million. So that's kind of a testament to what happens off market versus taking things to market.
I love that point. Very solid point for those of you that ever sell anything off market. Definitely be aware that you are probably leaving money on the table.
Right.
So with the huge gap between our highest and lowest price sales in our market, it can be quite confusing, I think, to understand really what's the normal market, right, for Santa Barbara and the South Coast. So in October, our median sales price for a single family home was at about $2.1 million.
Right, which was a little bit lower than last month, but it was 4% higher than last October. So that kind of shows the testament to where our market's at right now.
Yeah, definitely. And the median sales price for a condo finished a little over $900,000.
Right, and that was, I think, about 10% lower than last October. But interesting enough, when you look at year to date, most neighborhoods for condos are still seeing an increase in overall price.
Yeah, and I think it's going to continue to be that way as that becomes more the affordable price range for buyers to really get in on that market.
And even though most neighborhoods have seen an increase in condo price, year to date, condos have dropped by 1%, and single family residents only by 3%.
Yeah, based on median sales price. So for those of you thinking the market's crashing or has crashed or is going to crash, you might want to reconsider.
Yeah, I mean, okay, you take those prices. So 1% drop in condos, 3% drop in single family residents. That's about a $5,000 difference for the condos and a $65,000 difference for single family residents if you're paying cash. But if you have a loan, when you look at those prices, you're actually going to be paying more for the home that has a lower price because of the rates.
Because of the rates, right? Yeah. So that kind of brings us to our next point here. We're going to bring a graph up on the screen that's going to show you, I guess, the drop in demand. It's the easiest way for me to explain this based on the increase in rates, which began in 2022. So you can see clearly from the graph here, it's one of the lowest sale years we've had in
2 decades. In 20 years. We only had 90 sales last month, 70 for single families and 20 for condos.
That is just mind-blowing to think. But let's talk a little bit more about the effects interest rates have had on the market within certain price points locally. Yeah.
I think nationally, you hear a lot of stories about crashes and prices dropping, but looking here locally and the effects interest rates have on our market, you can see, sure, in our affordable range, 1.5 and under, there is a bigger gap in sales being done with interest rates being high. Those are the more affordable condos. Those are the people most affected by affordability, and those are the people that are getting loans more often.
Right.
When you look at the $2 million to $4 million, which is kind of like our middle class here in Santa Barbara, you can see that sales aren't affected as much. Those are still people who have intent to move and have saved a lot, and it's their goal to get that done, and people are still in there, and sales are still happening. But when you look at that $6 million and up, you can see that it doesn't have as much of an effect. It's kind of been a little bit random throughout this year. You can see in June, we had a really big increase in sales being done, and then a decrease. The last 2 months, it's increased. Those people are generally paying cash, and they're usually purchasing on more of an emotional basis. They want this house, things have changed, whatever it is.
Adding it to the collection.
Yeah, it's not as trackable, but you can see that, they don't really depend on interest rates, which is why why interest rates aren't crashing our market.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because again, we're just not seeing the increase in supply, which we'll get to here shortly. But I want to quote Redfin here that came out with these data points that are very helpful for people to understand where the current market is nationally when thinking about interest rates. So one of the biggest contributors to lack of sales nationally is that 82.4% of homeowners have a mortgage rate below 5%.
Right.
And 62% have a rate below 4%. Now, this is from Redfin, guys. You can verify this online. And then you factor in Santa Barbara, the most unique thing about the real estate market here is that roughly about 40% of our transactions that take place are cash.
Yeah.
So you're sucking out half the market, basically, that doesn't even need a loan.
They don't have a loan. They don't have an interest rate. And 82% of the other people that are homeowners have a rate below 5%.
So inventory is going to be tight nationally and locally for a long time, in my opinion. And
People
I think
don't have a reason to sell.
And I think that's something most people are not talking about, or maybe they are. I don't know, but I feel like most people aren't when they're saying the market's going to crash. Inventory is going to be so tight for a while, and it's not going to change. So going right into our local inventory for Santa Barbara, we're at about 2.5 months of inventory.
Right, which was the same as last month. So, we have seen slight increases
throughout the year. Yeah.
But we're kind of coasting here. And again, 2.5 is still so far below that 6 months period, that economists say would be a buyer's market, where you're starting to really see the crash.
Yeah, so above 6 months of inventory is the buyer's market.
Yeah.
Below 6 months of inventory is the seller's market. At 6 months of inventory is the balanced market. Right. We are definitely well below the balanced market.
Right. I mean, our days on market for condos was 24, and for single family residents, it's 30. So things are still moving. Things aren't sitting on the market for a long time.
Right. And for those of you that weren't in the real estate market in 2008, 2009, 2007, days on market were in the hundreds of days in most places. So very different. So if you're thinking about the market crashing or it's going to crash, again, hopefully this data in the video helps you reconsider that.
There's another article that we were just talking about earlier today here, and we'll pull it up right now so you guys can take a look. But last week, rates went down by 0.25%, and here you can see mortgage demand rose almost 3%, 2.8%, just compared to the prior week before that drop.
And I want to provide some more clarification to what Jackie just said. So rates went down a quarter percentage point in the jumbo market. Right. This article is specifically referencing conforming loan limits, which decreased almost 0.75 of a point. But the fact of the matter is this: rates decreased, demand increased.
Yep.
So what do you think is going to happen when rates really, truly come down to the real estate market?
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a huge surplus of people coming back in. And we've seen what happens when there's a huge demand and nothing causing a huge supply. You get multiple offers. You get exponentially increasing listing prices, and you get a lot of competition, ultimately making you pay more, even if your rate is lower.
You're going to pay a lot more. So we've already told you enough points as to why we don't think the market's going to crash if you are a buyer. So let's talk a little bit more about the home sellers that are here that need to sell in the Santa Barbara South Coast market, or the 805, right? If you are a seller,
somebody that's considering, if you're considering selling, chances are you kind of feel like you missed the market. You might be feeling like, oh, is this a good time? Things are really crazy. There isn't that much action happening in Santa Barbara. And we really want to put this into perspective, because ultimately you've made a really, really smart investment. And now you're thinking about selling it.
It's going to pay off.
Yeah. If you look at this graph that we're going to pull up here, I mean,
it's a 30-year price trend on the Santa Barbara housing market.
Yeah.
If you look at this graph here, you'll see that, yes, interest rates have increased. Median sales price has increased. You can see median sales price had the biggest increase when interest rates were low.
Right.
But if you calculate the numbers and find out the difference between 2019 to where we're at today, you'll see a 67% increase in the median sales price. So if you are thinking about selling, you are still making a lot of money.
Yeah, I think COVID, you guys got used to seeing these crazy prices, this crazy activity, but ultimately those few years were an outlier. And, when you really look at real estate as the big picture, your investment, you are making so much money still from your sale. So I think really with our sellers, it's a mindset shift.
Right. And your property may sit on the market.
Yeah.
It may take longer than 30 days. You may have to take a price drop, but you're still selling well above what you normally would have sold for if COVID did not happen. So still, what we're telling sellers right now, we're about to launch 2 new listings coming pretty soon. We are taking our time with strategically pricing the property through price opinions. We are still doing Compass Concierge and investing in the presentation of the property.
That's one of the biggest things we've been focusing on.
Right. And making sure that when we, are ready to stage that property and hit the market, it's going to look perfect.
Right.
And there'll be very few things for people to not like about the house.
Yeah.
So that stuff is still at the foremost and utmost importance for a home seller.
100%. I think the sellers that are really in touch with, today's market are the ones that are leaving with a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And for those of sellers that are out of touch, you're starting to see, those listings expire or cancel.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That is our market update for October 2023 for the Santa Barbara housing market. And we know it's a lot of information, but I want to say this before we wrap it up. We love helping people.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, we're here to help. That's why we take the time to put these videos together.
Right. It's a lot of data, but again, we're here to digest it all and really niche down to your specific situation. This is an overview, but we're here to help you with any questions you might have, any strategy or game planning for your future.
Yeah. And we offer free home seller strategies consultations and free buyer consultations. So please, if you are thinking about making a move, whether it's now, 6 months from now, years from now, reach out to us. We're happy to help.
Yeah. Let's chat. Let's figure it out.
I'm Abel Ramos with Compass.
I'm Jackie Potter.
See you next time.